It's time for me to clean the BMW engine, and since I don't take it apart, I have to do this manually. And it's a very tedious process, but I think I've found the supplies that work quite well, especially when it comes to cleaning these fins and stuff like that. So I quickly want to show you my process for how I do this. Should you, however, take your whole engine apart, then I would definitely advise you to vapor blast the parts, because it is so much easier and the finish will be so much better. I did get the carbs vapor blasted, and look at the before and after. They came out like brand new. I wish I could do the same to all of the rest of the engine parts, but I can't. So here's my process, and let's start with everything that you need. The first thing that I'm going to use is an engine cleaner. This one is from Sonex. You can use any other brand. And then next up, I'm going to use an aluminum cleaner. And with that one, I'm actually going to work through all of the different types of cleaning supplies that I have. And then in the final step, I use some brake cleaner just to get all of the rest of the dirt off. So that is the cleaners. And then for the kind of like cleaning material or supplies, I have different hardnesses. The most aggressive one is a stainless steel brush, and that's only used for the very tough spots. The next softer one is a Scotch Brite pad. I only have the red ones. If you can get the green ones, those are a little bit harder if I'm correct, then definitely also use those. Next one in line is a brass brush, and that works perfectly to get most of the dirt out, but also to get like a nice even surface finish. And then in the final step, to get that to the next level, I'm using quadruple O steel wool. This is super fine. So that's just to get the like very nice even finish in the end. That's everything that I use for the big parts of the engine where you can reach easily. And then when it comes to the fins, I'm going to show you in just a second how I deal with those, because those are even more tedious than the rest. One last thing before we start, glasses and a pair of gloves are definitely advisable, so you don't get any of this into your skin or in your eyes. Let's start with the top right here where it's relatively dirty, and let's do a before and after comparison. Alright, the first step is to use the engine cleaner and spray that onto the area that you're working at the moment, and then I rub it in with the Scotch Brite pad. Once that's worked in, we let it sit for a few minutes and then we wipe it off. That's that one done. That gets rid of most of the surface dirt. Now we can actually see what we're working with and start to work the dirt out of the aluminum. To save some time, I'm going to start with a stainless steel brush on the very dark spots, but be careful that you don't scratch the surface too much. And then we work our way through the different grades of hardness to get rid of all of the dirt. For the next steps, I'm always going to use the aluminum cleaner. And here again, we just spray that on there and then start working it in with the different cleaning supplies. After a while, it gets quite hard to see what you're actually working with, so it makes sense to clean it every now and then reapply the cleaner. Alright, after a few gentle rounds of the stainless steel brush, I'm moving over to the Scotch Brite pad. That is already looking much better. As the last step, we're going to use the steel wool. All right, let's see the before and after. As you can see, this process gives you a very good result. You can really deep clean the aluminum without scratching the surface, which is important, but it just takes a ton of time. You have to do several rounds with each of the individual cleaning utensils. And now that I'm actually a few hours into cleaning the engine, I wanted to add a few things, because for me, this gives obviously the nicest result, but it's just not feasible with my timeline. I started cleaning the front engine cover with this process, and at the halfway through, I noticed I'm not gonna be able to finish the whole engine in time when doing this, because it just takes so long. So I needed to find like a good middle ground. And what I did in the end for the whole engine was I went around it with only brake cleaner and Scotch Brite pads. So I did that for all of the big areas. And then once you have loosened the dirt, it's very important to use a clean paper towel, add some brake cleaner, and actually take off the dirt. Otherwise you just move it from one spot to the other. In my opinion, this process gives you an acceptable result, even though it still triggers me that I know that I could do much better, but I just don't have the time. So that was the compromise that I settled on. But sometimes I found very dark, deep spots of dirt that I just couldn't ignore. And for those, I used the Dremel with the original Dremel brass brush. Those are so much better than the cheap fake ones. I only used one of the three that I got in the pack for the whole main part of the engine and one cylinder head. So the pack of three will last you for at least one engine, if not more. And I also used that to get into all of these hard to reach corners, which makes the job so much easier. What can happen if you use a brass brush is that you get a golden shimmer, but that's not a big problem because you can actually take that away with the Scotch Brite pads. And if you have trouble reaching in there with your finger, then a little like plastic scraper helps to get into all of the tight corners. What you definitely need a lot of if you do it this way instead of the other way that I showed you before is brake cleaner. I ran through about 4 cans until this point, so you definitely need a lot of this. But it has two big advantages, in my opinion. The first one is that it's so much quicker than the aluminum cleaner because it takes way less time to actually react. You don't have to wait for 3 minutes until the aluminum cleaner changes its color. The one that I have does that to indicate you that it's working properly. That's the first one. And then the second one is that when I did the first test fin, some of the aluminum cleaner got into other areas and I didn't properly clean it. And when I came back from my honeymoon, I looked at the cylinder head and I found all of this like white oxidation or white scale. I don't know what it is, but it just didn't look too healthy. So if you use that aluminum cleaner, you have to make sure that you clean it very thoroughly afterwards or rinse it off. With a brake cleaner, you don't have that problem too much. So those were two very, very big advantages. And then for the fins, I actually didn't change the process too much. I already cleaned this side. The Dremel works a charm in here. And then to take off the shimmer and to clean the walls, I used the Scotch Brite pad. And to push against the wall, I also used this like little plastic scraper and just cleaned the fins like this. That worked great. And then to get all of the dirt out of the fins, I used these XXL cotton swabs. Just spray them with brake cleaner, go in there and take all of the dirt out, and then you're good to go. As the last step, I used compressed air to blow the fins out, and then you get a relatively clean cylinder head as well. So after a few hours, probably like 8 hours of cleaning, plus the like 3 or 4 that I spent on this one, let me show you what the engine looks like. I think that's a relatively good result for the time I put in. If you have any more tips on how to properly clean an engine, let me know down below. I'm gonna finish the other side now, and then we can move on to all of the maintenance and repair tasks. We have to do quite a few on this engine, quite a few leaks, new starter, new timing chain, stuff like that, but we're gonna do that in the next videos. I hope this helps you to clean your own engine. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.